Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Pacvue Top 10 Learnings from Expo West. We'll go into some introductions here, but Mike and I are both here on the sales team, West Coast team. Kyle Costa, account executive, been here for about a year and 3 months. Mike, go and give yourself something there.
Yeah, Mike Marriott. I'm about 6 months into my time at Pacvue. Super exciting, but happy to be here. I got to say the Expo West show was an absolute blast. To be in person, to be at an event that large with that scale was so exciting.
So Mike and I both attended Expo West. We were in Anaheim, had a great time. Like Mike said, it was honestly a little intimidating coming from no event to this large of an event. I mean, getting lost an incredible amount of halls. I don't even know if we were even able to touch every booth or even get close to it. We definitely tried. Feet were sore, as I'm sure everybody else's were that were walking the event. And excuse my video quality today. I have no idea what is going on with my computer. So I'm an 8-bit person today. But we had a blast. Such exciting products. Such exciting time for some of these products. Like I've heard a lot of brands where this is their first event, maybe like 2 weeks after launch, trying to get into stores, trying to meet buyers. So honestly, just super fun, exciting event. We do have 10 questions and kind of learnings that we wanted to talk through, but feel free to throw stuff in the Q&A, or if you have anything that you thought was exciting, you want to share with the group, feel free to chime in. Again, this is, probably one of the most exciting events I've been to, and it's around food. I'm a huge food person, so it's awesome to get to, even though we're told not to eat the snacks, we definitely ate the snacks, and I have a bunch in my suitcase still at home. So as I was saying earlier, the first question is probably the best one. So Mike, let's share with the group, and you kick it off. What was your favorite product at Expo West this year?
Yeah, I think this was the hardest question to answer. There were so many great brands there, and I think the one that really took me by surprise, and I think probably everyone at the show, because I saw a can of this in everyone's hands at some point, was Liquid Death Water. The fact that they've taken just like your everyday water, basic water, and turned it into this really exciting brand is so cool to see. And I think we saw that with a lot of different brands out there, like taking a product that everybody knows, everybody uses day in and day out, but has differentiated themselves through branding. They did such a good job. I literally saw everybody at the show walking around with a Liquid Death can in their hands. So I think they probably took my favorite product.
Yeah, I love Liquid Death too. I think it's so cool. Even just going to the booth, everybody there is so excited about their brand. They connect with their consumers super well. So I think that was awesome. My favorite was, well, actually kind of have two. So one of my favorites was Goodles. So kind of an interesting story with Goodles, and thank you, Goodles, if you're watching this or will watch this, because I've already eaten all the macaroni you gave me. But the president or old president of Annie's macaroni, those snacks, you've seen them in grocery, she actually left and started Goodles with an awesome group with a mission to make a healthy macaroni. Most people probably wouldn't think that that's possible, but like this macaroni is packed with fiber, protein, bunch of vitamins and nutrients, and it tastes legit. The cheddar tastes like the original Kraft. Like, it's unbelievable. And that's exactly what they set out to do, is find a product, kind of like Mike was saying, but instead of differentiating with like the brand much, they just made it better, healthier, better ingredients. But the branding is also fantastic. They had plushies, little macaroni bowl plushies. They had shirts, hats, like the whole thing was awesome. So that was definitely top. But coming in close second for me was Clean Canteen. And most people are probably familiar with Clean Canteen. They've been around for a decent amount of time. But what I really thought was cool about them is next year, I believe they're going to be a huge percentage of their material is going to be sourced from recycled products and recycled metals. So all these bottles are going to be made from recycled products, still with the same quality. You know, they've got the vacuum chambered bottles to keep your stuff cold. They've got kid bottles. They've got all different sorts and sizes, lids and straws that can hide away in the cap. I mean, it was so cool to see, and sustainability is such a big push right now. And so to have them thinking about that, and I heard that maybe they own a lot of the recycled stainless, so it's going to be hard for others to kind of clone, but love that. Absolutely love that. So those are my two favorites. Not sure if you got to walk by either of those booths. I know you did the Goodles booth, Mike, but
I was gonna say I just finished I just had the Parmesan.
the Twist My Parm.
Twist My Parm. It was delicious.
Shy had that last night. Awesome. Well, let's jump into the next one. So the next one is gonna be a little bit about like the industry and some challenges. So what are the current challenges facing the natural products industry? And this can be like a little bit more broad too. But what did you hear, Mike, at the show?
Yeah, I heard this a couple of times, and we've been hearing this in the news a lot too. I think it's probably affecting anyone in ecom, really anyone selling anything around the world right now. But supply chain and shipping costs are really kind of digging into people's people's bottom line, and just getting the products themselves has been a challenge. So yeah, I'd say that was probably the biggest challenge that I heard of. Did you hear anything separate along those same lines?
I heard pretty similar, and we've been hearing it like there's so many pieces to a product. It's not typically just one piece and then you sell it. And so a lot of the times, like in what I've kind of was hearing, is there's certain ingredients that are harder to get or have gone up in price that have made either the product more expensive or almost impossible to make. So right along those lines is what I was hearing too. So hopefully we can get supply chain corrected here in the next, hopefully, year, lower these costs and kind of help everybody out. So number 3, what are some of the opportunities that the natural products industry can take advantage of?
Yeah, this one's great. This is a great question. This one's hard to narrow down. It's tough to say because there's so many opportunities out there, but I think what I really took away, what I've heard from multiple brands, and it is kind of like the old saying, the early bird gets the worm. If you can get onto some of these newer marketplaces like Instacart or Gopuff, if you can get on them early, and start to win that digital shelf, start to build your brand awareness on those sites, those marketplaces early, I think that gives you a huge advantage. So I'd say that would probably be my big takeaway for opportunities that's available to these brands right now.
Definitely. Yeah, I mean, at the Instacart presentation, that was like the biggest thing that Poppy was talking about, is like get on Instacart, advertise early, get in there, kind of plant your flag. And I was going to say the same thing, but for the Walmart side, like I know right now Walmart does not seem like a huge opportunity, maybe like Amazon. Like I heard a lot of people were on Amazon. That was probably the biggest platform that I heard, and direct to consumer, of course. But like I think there's so much opportunity within Walmart. I mean, their grocery business is about 25% of all grocery sales. And so, and that includes like Sam's and Amazon. And so with grocery sales and how they're growing so rapidly, I think like getting into Walmart, where a quarter of the grocery shoppers are, especially as a natural food product, it was huge opportunity. And then kind of going back and getting in early adoption, kind of planting your flag in the ground there, ranking up those reviews, kind of building that algorithm on the Walmart side early and adopting early, like we've been talking about, I think is probably one of the biggest opportunities I saw and heard. But I think both are very much in line. Like just get on to new platforms early and start to advertise, start to show, get that brand awareness going earlier than later. All right, number 4, So what does the natural and organic industry need to know to be successful in 22? This might kind of be a mix of what we were just talking about. But what do you think, Mike?
Yeah, I'd have to fall back on that same kind of in that same vein. Start advertising early and often. Have a real openness to test new things. So if Instacart comes out with a new product or a new feature, getting on that early, testing it early, learning what works, what doesn't work is really going to set you apart from your competitors. I think they create these new features to give brands the leg up. And if you're not willing to test it, then you're already behind the curve. What about you, Kyle?
Same thing. I try out new platforms. Like I think, right, like at the show, everyone was super interested in getting into retail, talking to the Walmart buyer, the Costco buyers, all those buyers, which is great. But I also know how much a digital presence can influence a retail buyer. And so just going out and getting on these platforms, show yourself online digitally, that buyer may be more influenced to bring your product in store if he sees that there's already great success, through e-commerce. So mine kind of, again, going back to that last question, like you, try out new platforms, get on them, test them out, and use your resources, use people and partners like a Pacvue to support you with getting on those platforms, to support you with education on those platforms and learning those. But can't stress that enough, really. Going to number 5, how are brands looking to create brand awareness in 2022? Is it going to be traditional advertising, retail media? What were you hearing?
Yeah, so I mean, I think like retail media is obviously still incredibly important for these brands. I heard a lot of what it's pretty exciting to me too is I heard a lot of like the influencer marketing style, as well as social media advertising. I feel like those are like the new up and coming ways that brands are getting in front of customers, especially as customer bases really shift to more of like a younger demographic. But yeah, I think like influencer marketing and social media advertising are going to be huge moving forward. Did you hear anything different, Kyle?
I mean, those things combined, and I was honestly going to kind of talk about Liquid Death again, because like just some of their, like, they're not very traditional with their advertising, but they create these videos that just go viral. I mean, the one with the Liquid Death guy, and he's got the axe and he's hitting that musicianal artist, that like the pianist guy. It just was the weirdest but fun video, and it got so many eyeballs on the product, and that's what they were looking to do. So I think kind of in line with what you're saying, but like almost that shock factor, like people are looking to create kind of a wow, oh my gosh, to just spread across all social media, get eyeballs on the product. And then of course, like, 20 to 30% of the traffic will probably end up on Amazon or your other platforms. So I kind of like that. I don't even know what to call it. This almost like the shock and awe kind of the social media advertising that people are doing. So I think that's really how people are thinking about it now. We saw a lot of that. Going to the next one, which platforms are brands leaning into heaviest?
Yeah, so I would say I certainly had a lot of, I don't know what you want to call it. I liked stopping by the alcohol brands. I thought they were really fun and exciting.
Oh, I know why.
So so one of them called Cask and Kettle. They make these pre-made drinks in coffee cups. So you just throw it into your regular coffee cup maker, and it spits out like a Irish coffee. Super exciting. But I think those brands, obviously as alcohol brands, they're a little bit more limited where they can advertise on. So I know they were really leaning towards like a GoPuff or Drizzly marketplace. I know it's going to be a lot different for other brands, which I'm sure you focus on a lot of the other brands, Kyle.
Yeah, hey, that that cask and kettle sounds dangerous.
Yeah,
Might
it was
accidentally
delicious.
switch a pot up, and next thing you know, you're having a really warm morning.
Yeah.
Um, I didn't stop by much of the alcohol brands at the event, but I heard a lot about Amazon. And then of course the next step was like getting into a Target or a brick and mortar kind of retail. I think what people really should be focusing on, and should be leaning into to help their business out for this next year with natural foods is going to be Walmart and Instacart. I'm a huge Instacart fan. I shop on Instacart all the time. And so I think being on those platforms, I know it does kind of attract like a younger audience, more willing to adopt technology to, of course, deliver your groceries. And so I think really the focus should be Walmart and Instacart. So how does the natural and organic industry differ from traditional brands when it comes to finding the right platforms? You were kind of just mentioning a little bit about alcohol limited, so maybe there are only a few platforms. But are there other things or other pieces that people should be taking into account when deciding like where to go for their next maybe platform launch?
Yeah, definitely. What we are seeing, and I went to an excellent talk hosted by Instacart, talking about their main demographic that shops on their site, and the same thing goes for like Gopuff's customer base. I think Gopuff's customer base is 70% of the audience is under 30 years old. So meaning they're like the younger generations, Gen Zs, they're more open to trying out a lot of these natural products. I think they're more open to trying out healthier products. So it's definitely going to play a factor in what type of brand you are, what type of product are you offering, and trying to look at what are the main demographics on which sites, and obviously tailoring where you're selling to those younger demographics.
Awesome. So Gen Z, younger millennials, definitely like that kind of Gopuff audience under 30. I also know that a lot of the shopping happens after 9 p.m. And so that's also a piece. Like, do you sell a product where people are probably purchasing after 9, whether it's maybe a munchies, snacks, ice cream, alcohol, stuff like that. So thinking about that will obviously help you perform better on these platforms, or have a better start. And so I think also like one thing kind of going into like the Instacart piece again is like people that are over 35 right now are really on the go, looking to maximize their time, whether it's at their time at home with their family, their time out exploring, having fun, hanging out with friends or whatever it is. And so what could you shave off for the day? Going and getting groceries, order your stuff on Instacart. That was a free little plug there, Instacart. So trends you're hearing from brands or you heard at the expo.
Yeah. So there's a couple trends. I'd say first off, what we've kind of mentioned a couple of times in this talk already is unique branding. So going back to Liquid Death again, just being able to set your product apart, set your brand apart by taking unique new ways at branding yourself. Obviously at the Natural Foods Expo, we saw this a lot, but focus on high quality products and ingredients. I mean, going back to what we were just saying about, Gen Z's shopping more on Gopuff, on Instacart, you're going to see a lot more emphasis on them wanting higher quality products and willing to pay for higher quality products and ingredients. I'd say that was a couple big trends that we heard.
Yep. And like going off of your high quality ingredients and products, like people, the trends that I saw, like one, which kind of going back to Goodles, is like taking something that people absolutely love and pretty much everybody has in their pantry and turning that product into a healthy alternative. So like not having to give up on taste, not having to give up really anything, nearly the exact same product, just better for you, better ingredients, more vitamins, more nutrition, and like less filler. So like that was by far what I saw the most. Like
There was a ton of that.
it,
It just popped into my mind, but the mushroom beef jerky, which was
yep,
delicious, but like what a fun alternative to beef jerky is making it out of mushrooms. Sorry to
yep.
cut you off, but I had to throw that one in there.
No, that I I had some this morning because I found it in my bag and I had to try it, and it was actually really good. And Unreal, there's a company that's making candy. They make the same candy that you'll see on the normal like shelf, like M&Ms, peanut, chocolate covered peanuts, like just stuff that you'd see, peanut butter cups, and they're fantastic. But it's very, very clean and like good ingredients that are going into those instead of fillers and a bunch of extra sugars. So definitely really cool. And of course, which everyone probably on this call has seen a lot of this as well, is the alternative meat. So trying to be more, I saw a lot of people claiming that it's more sustainable, but that space, like, I mean, every 3 booths, there was an alternative meat. I even saw an alternative poke, like a sushi fish. I ate it. It was, I mean, they've worked for like 3 years on the texture, and the texture was dang close. I mean, I'm a fish eater myself, so not my cup of tea, but like it's so interesting and so cool. But super competitive. I mean, there were, alternative beefs every row. You had the Wicked, Beyond Meat. I think there was one called just No Meat. They were all over. So definitely a trend right now in the food category. All right, so we've got just 2 more questions here. Hopefully you guys are staying engaged, enjoying this. We're not boring you too much. But Mike, what is your number 1 takeaway from the event?
Yeah, I would say doing your research into what marketplaces you want to sell in, whether that be Amazon, Walmart, Instacart, Gopuff, where do you want to sell? Where do you want to put your dollars? And getting there early and testing early. There's really like no reason to be waiting, is what I hear, what I was hearing from people. The earlier you can get there, the more established you can be, just the better you're going to do in the long run.
Yep. I would say for me, what I saw a lot was like people are very, very focused on getting into grocery stores. Like that's like their top priority. They didn't even want to really hear about advertising. But I think what they're missing out on is like advertising is what gets your product out there. If a buyer comes up to you and finds out you're investing 0 into advertising, they're probably going to assume that your product is really not out in the space. They're probably going to assume that they're going to have to advertise a lot to build traffic for that product. And so I think really people need to be thinking about ads in tandem with this getting into grocery store, getting into brick and mortar, because the more visibility your product has, the more traffic, the more eyeballs on this, the better opportunity or chance that that buyer is also going to see that traffic, that demand, and also want that product. So I think what I am taking away from the event is that a lot of people were thinking of advertising as kind of like a secondary piece to this. Like once we get in stores, we'll start advertising. But for me personally, I would say we should probably start advertising first. And if that's not on a platform, totally fine. Get yourself on Google ads, get yourself on Facebook ads, and maybe even a small little TV spot. Like get yourself out there so that people know what your brand is and you're not talking to a buyer and they're like, hey, I've never heard of this before. All right, the last one we have here. If there's one piece of advice, Mike, that you could give to these natural food brands, what would it be? Besides talk to Mike, of course.
Yeah, obviously talk to me. Besides that, I would say going back to like the very first question, what do brands do to separate themselves from their competition? How do you tell your story to be unique in the space? there's so many brands. Like, I think there was over 3,000 brands that attended Expo West this year. So the competition is so high. And, the odds that a brand is, your competitor is selling something extremely similar to you is very high. So how do you differentiate yourself, whether it be with, good ingredients, organically, or just telling a really fun, unique story? I think that's going to be a huge leg up that you can give yourself within this space. What about you, Kyle?
Yeah, that is definitely big. I mean, like we're just talking about all the alternative meats. How do you differentiate your alternative beef to another one? So differentiation is huge. Being an advertiser, I'm gonna go to advertising. Like, I think the biggest piece of advice is getting out there, spending money on ads, showing your product to new customers, and really thinking less about return on ad spend or ACoS right at that moment, and thinking long term, lifetime customer value. If you can attain a customer and sell to them for the next 5 years, what is that worth to you? And how do we achieve that? New customer acquisition is going to be absolutely like the most important piece for some of these natural foods, because what do humans do? They eat. If they like your product, they're going to continue to eat your product. My fiance is going on the Goodles website today and using our Expo West coupon that we got to go buy a huge box, because we're actually huge fans, and I guarantee you we will have those in the pantry. I mean, until they go away. So like, I am a lifetime customer now for that brand. And it didn't take much, right? It took 3 boxes of macaroni and a small introduction to the company. So like, focusing on getting in front of new customers, I think, is my biggest piece of advice for everyone that attended Expo West and anybody attending this webinar right now.
So find the marketplace you want to sell on and get started on that ASAP. Kyle, can we help any of these people out? Where can we help them? What marketplaces can we help them get started with and advertising on?
So like, what we can help out with is really any major online marketplace: Amazon, Walmart, Instacart, Criteo, Citrus, eBay. Wherever you are trying to sell your products, you can leverage our team to help you either get in communication with the team, or start to advertise more efficiently. We've built an outstanding product that sits on the API of all of these platforms that gives you more data, better control, automation, and some fun share of voice stuff. So if anyone here watching this live or watching this later on wants to talk about any of these platforms, please reach out to sales@pacvue.com. Let us know you watched the webinar, you're interested in learning more, and we'd love to jump on a call and help you out. I think we have a
looks like we do have a question, Kyle.
Yeah.
So we had a participant ask, how was healthy advertised in Expo West, i.e. amount of ingredients, whole foods, low sugar, etc.?
Yeah, I mean, I think it really depended on the product, because of course, like the Unreal Candy Company, they were selling chocolate still. So there was still some sugar in there. But what they were really leaning on is that the ingredients that went in there were organic or whole, and not fillers or random oils that were processed. So like, it really depended on the brand and how they were kind of pushing their healthy piece. Of course, like, again, going back to my favorite, Goodles, they were really pushing that instead of having it filled with fake kind of cheese powders, theirs were all real dehydrated kind of cheeses, along with extra added vitamins, fibers, and extra protein too. So to answer that question, it really was dependent on the brand and how they were pushing what their healthy piece was. But it really was any of those. Like, some were ingredients, some were having whole foods, and then some were just reducing the amount of sugar.
Yeah, I saw a lot of like you know, what can you replace with the unhealthy? Like what you're saying is you know, what product can you take? Like there was a lot of noodle brands that weren't using like the traditional way of making noodles.
Chickpea
Yeah,
pasta,
chickpea noodle.
Bonza. Yeah.
Yeah, Bonza was a huge one. Yeah, I think that was one of the main ways that people were, you know, differentiating themselves.
Monk fruit I saw a lot for like the substitute of sugar. So lots of
Lots of
different
different
pieces,
milks.
but yeah, lots of different milks. Barley milk, A2 milk, it's supposed to be less lacto. There was so many cool products, and that kind of goes into our wrap up here. Like Expo West was by far one of the most fun events that I've ever been to. So many people, everyone was so excited, launching their products, trying to get out there. Everyone was very, very open, willing to share their story, share their product. And so we are really excited to attend for next year. But until then, thank you all for joining. Kyle and Mike are going to be signing off. Hope to
Thank
hear from you
you.
all soon.